And oh my god, this is YouTube being really slow. I'll just tell a bad joke in the meantime. No, I won't. Liv, it's over to you. You are our first speaker of tonight. Oh my god, this is YouTube being really slow. I'll just tell a bad joke in the meantime. And that was me not muting it.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Share your screen. You have got 10 minutes. If you hear my voice, that means you're coming close to your end of your 10 minutes. Wish you luck. You'll be amazing.
So, hi everyone, my name is Olivia, and my talk is about my journey going from law to tech, and also about the highs and lows. So, the spoiler alert is that the high is that I get to tell this story to my nieces. They're on the screen there. They're both teenagers. They spend all day on TikTok and talking back as teenagers do. And I know at some point in their life, they're going to be at the point that I was at. And that was probably like one of my career lows. So this is the story that I'm going to tell my nieces. So I think I was around 16, 17, 18, and I was in sixth form and GCSEs. You have to kind of pick your topics, pick what you think is kind of going to define your life. And at that point, I was in that typical position of, I don't know what I want to do yet. I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner. I'm literally 17. Please don't make me pick my choices now. But, you kind of have to. So I had to pick my A-level choices, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up doing film studies, sociology, and English literature. Very, very far from tech, so you can see where this journey is going. So I did those. I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this, just kind of getting on with it as you do at school. And then A levels came along quite quickly as well. And they're just kind of like, okay, you're doing these A levels, you're doing the exams, but what you're kind of led to believe at that point is your A levels are kind of your entry to your degree, your UCAS application. And then your degree is in the entry path to the rest of your career. Like, you need to do that to qualify for stuff. And I'm just still thinking, like, I still don't know what I want to do. Like, I've picked these subjects, I like them, but I don't feel like it's like the career path that I want to do. Then again, I don't know what career path I want to do. So I'm doing my UCAS application now, and I'm thinking, this is my degree, it's important, I need to pick carefully. And I chose to do film studies at Southampton. And I felt pretty happy about that because film studies is something that I enjoyed doing. I found it fun, but I was getting a lot of adult talks about how if you're going to do something for a career, maybe make sure you can see long-term potential in it. Like, is it going to challenge you enough? Do you see it being long-lasting and things like that? And I had a lot of these talks with people, and it kind of put me off doing film studies in the end. I was like, okay, maybe I can apply myself a bit more, do something more challenging. So I actually ended up rescinding my UCAS application, and I was back to square one of what felt like the biggest lows ever. What did I know? I was a teenager. So I rescinded my application, and I went onto Google, just Googling career paths. What can I do with these A levels that I have chosen and chosen prematurely? And one of the things that came up was law. And I didn't even do law as an A level, but I just read something that said, I've done sociology, I've done English. There could be a way to get around this. So I pray and I do an application to do law at Lancaster University, and thankfully I'm accepted. So now I feel like I'm staring this career path right down, and I'm just thinking, my path is going to be law now. I've applied myself to law. That's it. That's my solid path now. So to fast track this, I just spent 4 years of my life learning law, studying law, doing shadowing, doing jobs, just buried under all these books and legislations. And I didn't hate it. It was somewhat enjoyable and I was good at it. I could do it, but I could still feel deep down that if I was thinking about long-term career and what do I want to do for the rest of my life, it wasn't really this. I could do it, I was good at it, but it just didn't really feel right. So in my 4th year of doing law, I ended up doing a master's in criminal law because that's the next route I thought I wanted to go down. I wanted to be a criminal solicitor. And I was doing a master's at Birmingham University. And there was just this one night, and I think I was preparing some seminar notes in the evening, and I was just reading, making notes, and I just kind of hit this slump where it's like, this wasn't really the path that I wanted to be in. I felt like I had kind of trapped myself in this box that I made at 17 from picking school subjects, and there wasn't really a way out of it. And that night, I just had like this little breakdown, and I was feeling really frantic, really upset, and I was crying. And my mom was like next door in her room, and she texted me, "Can you stop laughing so loudly? I'm watching EastEnders." I'm just like, "I'm not laughing, I'm crying." But then at that point, I started laughing because it was really ridiculous, and it made me realize that I knew what I needed to do. If I wasn't happy and I didn't want to do this anymore, I just kind of had to make the really brave decision to just drop out. And even the word drop out, it was so scary at that point. Like, I was 4 years in, it felt like quitting. I wasn't too sure if it was the right thing to do or like if I could do it, but I had some really supportive friends and family, and they said that if it's what I wanted to do, then I should just do it. Things work out. Sorry, I just heard something. Did someone say something? Yeah. Okay, so I ended up dropping out of my master's, which was quite a scary time because at this point it meant I was doing nothing and still didn't know what to do going forward. But I had some convenient timing because at this point the very first lockdown just started, so I had a lot of time to kind of sit and think. And I think one random day I just thought, I'm going to teach myself how to code. And this wasn't even a career thought, it was just something to do with spare time during lockdown. So I went onto YouTube, I'd learned some little tutorials, learned about coding, and then the days just kind of went by. I went days just kind of doing code and more code and more code. I was like, I like this. This is kind of fun, and I'm not so bad at it. And then I kind of considered the possibility of, is this something that I could take seriously? And I had to think about this quite a lot because I didn't want to feel like I was trapping myself in another wrong route. Because, you know, how many times can you change? I didn't really know about that. So I did some research, and I was very lucky enough to come across the Black Coder Bootcamp. And spoiler alert again, that was the best decision of my life. Doing that bootcamp really changed everything for me. It put me in an amazing community. I made amazing connections through it. I learned so much, and it really did kind of help get me to where I am now. So shout out to Black Coder Bootcamp, to everyone there. Amazing, thank you. So that boot camp was for 6 months, and that's where I really started to kind of learn my technical skills, learn how to code properly. And from there, it was kind of time to start applying to my first tech jobs. And what I thought was that this is going to be a high in this journey. Oh my gosh, it was a low. It was like rejection after rejection after rejection. I was like, did I pick the wrong path again? But, you know, eventually it worked out, and I managed to get my first acceptance. So yeah, that was a high right there. My first job role, which I'm still in right now. So I work for a company called Capital on Tap, and it's also been an amazing experience. That really was a high. And obviously, being in a new role, it comes with its own highs and lows. You need to adjust things, you need to learn things. But I was kind of willing to take those highs and lows because it's what I fought for this whole time. And times like this where I kind of look back at how I was just sitting in my classroom thinking, I don't know what I want to do with my life, to right now where I'm actually giving talks on the journey that I've just done. Those lows were really worth it because I'm so happy to be where I am right now. And yeah, that is my journey. That is my reflection. It's really okay to not know what you want to do. And I'm going to tell this story to my nieces like every day. They're going to get sick of hearing it, but they need to know that this is so normal. It's so common, and that there's so many paths out there. If you don't know what you want to do, it's literally fine. And that is my journey and my talk.
Can we please get a massive virtual round of applause for Olivia? That was amazing. So we do have a couple of questions for you before you have to run, because I know you got to leave at 7 o'clock. So what excites you about your current role?
I'd have to say the people. So they're very aware of how junior I am, and they're constantly taking that into consideration. And that really excites me because there's no nervousness. I don't feel afraid to ask questions there. I know that nothing I say is going to be stupid. So I can kind of go into work and be like, these people are so accepting. And that just kind of makes it fine, which is therefore exciting because it makes it a really good environment to be in.
Oh, that's lovely. Do you feel like you've now found what you were looking for?
I do, yeah. And it's miles away from where I was originally, like film studies to tech. So different.
Yeah, I said I was going to pick film studies. I was like, media studies, film studies. It was a,
Hard choice.
yeah, it's like it's got to be one of the two of them. Would you say you struggle between your heart and mind in the early years of your career path?
Yeah, so making that decision that one evening to drop out of uni was the scariest decision ever because I didn't have a backup plan. If I dropped out, I didn't know what I was going to do the next day, the week after. I didn't want to be like doing nothing for the rest of my life. And that's kind of what I worked myself up into thinking that might happen. If I drop out, that's it. Then what? Luckily, I was so wrong.
What is your role and what does your day look like?
So my role is, the title was just simply junior software engineer, and it looked so different to what I thought it would be. So until I got the role, I was like, am I ready for a tech job? Like, what are they going to make me do? And today, these are the things that I did. Today, there was a button on a website that was red, shouldn't have been red, should have been blue. One of my tasks was to just change the color of the button. I did another thing where there was a div where there shouldn't have been a div. I removed the div. These were just, it was a nice day. I had simple tickets. Sometimes it can be a bit harder than that, like say a whole API is broken and I need to fix it and you need to kind of do these configurations. But what it mainly consists of is someone finds a problem, they write into a ticket and the engineers try and fix it. It was not as scary as I thought it was going to be. Most times it's just a bit of CSS here, a bit of kind of fixing here and there. But yeah, it's all manageable, small tasks, so it's not that scary.
And one more question. Do you think if you did film studies and had a career in the media, that you would have still changed careers?
I think I would have, yeah, because my topics at that point, things like English and film studies, I enjoyed them, I liked them, and I felt comfortable in them. And because I was so comfortable in them, I wasn't really being pushed or challenged. And coding challenges me every single day. It's like a love-hate relationship, but it's also really rewarding at the same time. So I think in the end, I would have felt that I wasn't being fulfilled elsewhere, and I would have probably changed anyway.
A piece of advice from me, Olivia, constantly tell your nieces about what you've done because they're listening. My nephew's now 25, he's an old man. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that he was listening to me because we're so close in age. I didn't realize that he had actually listened to me. And a few months ago, he's introducing me to someone. Is like, have I introduced you to my auntie, the chief technology officer? And I'm like, what?
Fancy.
He's like, yeah, this one's got brains. She's the smart one. I'm like, you've been listening to me. I've done my job.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to tell
So
them. They're gonna get sick of
keep
hearing it.
tell
And I'm
them.
gonna tell them, yeah.
Keep tell them, repeat it over again until they start introducing you to their friends as, have you met my auntie?
I want to be like the
Smart
rich
one.
auntie, the fancy auntie. Yeah, one of
Exactly.
those.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
No worries.
Love
Thank
hearing
you
your
for
journey.
having
You'll never
me.
get bored of it.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Next up, we have got Michaela. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Are you sure? You're gonna be
Yes.
amazing. You're gonna be amazing. You have got, I think you said 10 minutes. Hang on, let me double check.
10.
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. For sure it's going to be 10. And
All right, then.
I'll keep it
Cool.
to 10.
The time starts now.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela. The title of this talk is My First Role in Tech, Now What? Asking for support, then kicking the door open. So yeah, a little bit about me. I am Michaela. She, her is good for me. I'm a career switcher and I am now a front-end engineer at SafeSafe. Also an instructor at Coding Black Females, which is super cool. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about my journey into my second role, but I will also talk about how I came to know that my first role at a tech consultancy was not suitable for me and how I continue to communicate the support that I need in my tech journey. So yeah, as I said, I am a career switcher. So I used to be in theater. So I also used to be in the arts. So I was a theater producer and I graduated from my MA in December 2019. So yeah, that is right before all the chaos. So yeah, I was working in arts admin, managing productions, doing some theater tech and programming lighting for theaters. So that is as close as I came to kind of programming and tech. So when the pandemic started, I became absolutely jobless, and I was talking to my housemate, and she's a software dev. She encouraged me to try it out and see if I liked it. Turns out I did, and thank God, because I think I wouldn't be there if it wasn't for that. And when I felt confident, that was around my third boot camp, I applied for a role, and that was at a tech consultancy, which turned out to be my first job. And now all of this happened within a space of 8 months. And I say 8 months because we're about to compare what the next 8 months at the first job looked like. So yeah, I learned how to work with people in tech, learned how to communicate like what I had coded, demoing, explain my thought process, and also learning how to problem solve in order to prep for job interviews. So yeah, I'm here today to just talk to you about, my first role in tech and like how I experienced it, especially as a career switcher, because I think there's a lot out there on how to kind of land your first job, teach yourself how to become a dev. But when I started my job, I actually wanted a lot to hear a lot more on development after you started your first role and not stop there. So for instance, I wanted to hear more about what to expect, how can I continue to develop, how can I make sure that I'm making the most of the opportunity that where I am, how to ask for support on my role, how to evaluate if this role is even right for me. Like, am I getting the support that I need? Is there room for progression here? And progression bit kind of, I guess, comes a bit later. And of course, I don't really have time to cover everything, that I just mentioned today, but hopefully in the future we can chat about that. But I will touch on a few things. So yeah, when I started my first role, I was super excited about a lot of things, but the top 3 were to be a part of building a real life project. Like, I was excited by seeing an application in the real world and saying, yeah, I actually wrote code for that. That really excited me. Applying my learnings in a space where I continue to learn more from professionals, from people who are a bit more senior than me. And also fully immerse myself in challenging projects and up the pace in my learning and career development. Because I'm really ambitious and super excited by all these different challenges that are, coming. But unfortunately, there were a few hurdles, so I did have to kick some doors open for myself. And I really, really encourage people to, definitely have that attitude. So yeah, just to, I guess, set the scene, it was a consultancy, so my work highly depended on the company landing the clients, and also the clients being also happy to have juniors as part of their team. And this, of course, this became a blocker at the end, because some clients were like, oh no, we don't really want juniors on our team. Or at times we just didn't have the right client for my skills or the things that I wanted to work on as a front-end dev or as a mobile dev, because those were the things that I was looking at the time. So yeah, instead I actually worked on internal projects while most of the senior devs went on to clients. So here I lost access to learning from more senior devs. I was only working with juniors, and we could only learn just a bit from each other, there's only so much we can do. But I thought, okay, this is not that bad. I'll overcome this. So what I did was I actually found some time to talk to the senior devs. So booked some time on their calendars and asked them, okay, what are you doing on client? What does the project look like? What tools and technologies are you using? So that I can familiarize myself with it while I was on the bench. And then, make myself a bit more viable for the clients we have on our books. And that way I can, come to my line manager and say, listen, you can totally book me for this client because I know that they do this tech stack. I know how to use it now. Let's go. So I continued to check in with my line manager, talk to the service team are the people that talk to the clients, and they say, oh, we've got this team for you for this project. What do you think, client? So yeah, I was talking to them and I said, I'm interested in React, React Native and Android development, just so that they're aware. And I also asked if I could shadow a developer on client, so I can learn from it. And I heard, okay, yes, but nothing came up. Obviously, I didn't stop there. I just kept on saying, yeah, I want to shadow. Is there a possibility? And I kept saying it, but still nothing came. And then I also asked to work with more senior devs while I was on the bench working on internal projects. And these internal projects sometimes get deployed and sometimes they are put to the side. So it can be sometimes a bit demotivating, but I did ask for senior developers to join my team so I can ask them questions and they can kind of help me with some blockers that I was having. But they were swamped with client work, so that kind of became impossible. And one of the first things I realized when I first joined was that the support they had for junior developers was all blanket. So there was somebody's knowing. Okay, there was blanket course blanket support and blanket learning content for all juniors. Now, as a career switcher, I was confident in some soft skills and they were still a part of the training that I had to do, and I still had to attend these mandatory learnings and continue to prove that I employ those skills. And that just presented itself as a problem because it took time away from me developing my tech skills, and that's what I wanted to focus on. And this kind of brings me on to the progression framework they had. Now, because I wanted to focus on my development skills and tech skills, I was not in line with the progression framework they had, meaning I could not progress without ticking their boxes. And I say ticking their boxes because it literally became a tick box exercise. There were soft skills and there were development tech skills, but you had to prove both in your progression case to actually progress. But I still kept pushing, and I made a case that I needed to focus on my tech skills, and I did employ some of the soft skills that they required, and I needed to spend time on tech skills. And the support that I need from the company is to be on client and then develop further. So I was really honest. I said, this is the support that I need. This is where I'm lacking. But there was another block here. So from what I've told you, I can't go on client because client didn't want juniors. And then I can't progress from junior to mid-level because part of the progression also says that you would have had to add value to client. So as you can see, there was a catch. And I think as soon as I kind of saw that, I was like, okay, this is another issue. Maybe I don't fit in this company or this consultancy. So yeah, to recap, I asked for support and opportunities, but nothing came from it. I wanted to be promoted and I couldn't. I was offered with more blockers, asked to work with more seniors. That didn't happen. Couldn't work on client projects. And I was on the bench for about 10 months with only client engagement of 3 weeks, which I think is quite slow when you compare that to the 8 months where I've been on bootcamp continuously growing. So I continued to evaluate the situation at the job with my mentors, and I'm super lucky to have them. And then I made the decision to leave. And now that's 6 months of being in this job, and I thought about leaving, and that was absolutely scary because I thought, oh my God, my CV is I don't know if I can add anything. And you know what? There was something to add to my CV. I had done a lot of learning on my own. But yeah, I wanted a better opportunity, and I wanted to continue to be excited about my
1 minute left.
Yeah. So I wanted to be more excited about, my tech role. And this was all good because now I knew what questions to ask my employer, how to evaluate if it was right for me. Wanted to make sure that things that were missing in my past position existed here. And I also wanted to be heard. And I think this one is super important. Just because we're juniors, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be heard. And I think there's preconceptions that we don't know what we want. We're all maybe fresh from uni, we cannot manage our time, and all these things contribute to not being heard. And this intersects with also other identities. So for me, I'm a Black woman as well. I'm from a non-CS background, and all of these things kind of intersect. So I'm here to just urge everyone to definitely evaluate if a place is not right for you. definitely evaluate it, keep on asking for support. And if the support is not there, kick a door open, make that opportunity happen for you. And it's absolutely okay to say, okay, this role is not for me. I need to move on, no matter what time that is, whether that's within the 6 months or 3 months, just give it a good old try, and then absolutely okay to move on from that. And that's it.
Can we please get a big virtual round of applause for Michaela? That was amazing. No slides, just off the top of your head. Loved it. Very confident. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So all the lessons you've learned from that experience, what do you now look for in a company when you're applying for somewhere? Because I guess now you know what exactly you're looking for out of a company.
Yeah. So, I did actually think about this a lot when I was obviously applying to CyberSafe, which is now my second role, right? And one of the things that I was asking them was, what does your support look like for junior devs? And I wanted that answer to be, for me, okay, so we're there, to pair with you, answer any questions for you. And you can take days for learning, but most importantly, you are still part of a team and you are developing in on a real project. And I think that that's what gets me up in the morning. So I definitely needed that answer, that I can work with the team and actually develop a real life project.
Got another question. Is the new company better suited to you, and why?
Yeah, so this one is really interesting. So the reason that I found it more suitable for me was because I am now an in-house developer. And if you asked me about this last year, I would be like, I don't know what this is. But last time, I didn't know what a consultancy was like, and I just went in. And then I found out, okay, there's going to be a lot of changes every time. You're going to have to change tech stack all the time, and that might be suitable for someone. But things are not steady, and when you are kind of learning all the different tech stacks, it's kind of hard to excel at one maybe you're heavily interested in. And things like move a lot, and you might not be able to see the end of your project, and I wanted to see the end of my project. I was really happy to be an in-house developer and have that also startup. Have that startup culture. That the culture is like really, really important to me. So yeah.
Thank you so much. We've got one more question.
Oh, okay.
What challenges have you encountered in your career so far?
I don't really know how to put that. I think it's just not knowing about the different culture, not the different culture types, but the different types of tech companies there are. So as I just said, consultancy versus in-house. I think being at a consultancy, I would say that the last couple of months there and being on the bench, that was definitely challenging.
I'll tell you one challenge of being in-house is when your clients are the other devs in your company, and they'll just roll over to your desk and be like, I'm waiting,
What's up? Yeah. They're like, what's up?
We're like, you just, what? We're like, we're your client. Speed it up.
Literally. But yeah, I love that. I think that I know that who the client is, because getting used to all the different clients became a bit more challenging, and it was hard to maintain, I guess, a certain discipline, like even holding on to like agile methodology became a bit difficult. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, we're getting more questions coming in now. I think this will be the last question. Did you feel like you were misled by your previous company, and if they described the role differently from what it actually was?
I don't think they described the role differently. I think they described the support differently, I would say. So they weren't really clear about what the progression looked like. I didn't know there was going to be gatekeeping on, if you didn't go on client, then you can't progress. Things like that were tricky. And, we support everybody, even from different careers. That didn't line up with me, and that was what the problem, I think, was.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
I can't wait to hear the progress of the next few months. I can imagine it's going to be very, very different.
Oh, yes.
Which means we're going to have you back, is what I'm trying to say, without saying.
I'll gladly be back. Thank you.
I forgot to ask Liv, but I'm going to ask you, where can people get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Michaela Gast, but I will happily add that to the chat and everybody can, give me a follow, message me, ask questions. That's cool.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Next up, we have got the amazing Tommy. Tommy, are you ready?
Yes, I am. I am just going to share my screen now because I have slides.
Cool. You have got 15 minutes.
Sure.
Right.
I'll try and do 10. So I'll try my best to do 10.
Cool.
Okay, so share.
Over to you.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Great. Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief introduction to myself. So my name is Tommy, and I'm basically a cloud consultant, so cloud infrastructure architect with AWS. I've been with AWS for almost 4 years now, and I specialize mainly in cloud infrastructure architecture as well as DevOps. So my talk is a bit different today. It's just going to be on DevOps itself, just because if I saw that as a gap or something to talk about that could interest people. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I guess we're doing them at the end, but I'll try and keep it short and sweet. So I have like an agenda, but it's just like 3 major things, and it's just focusing on what DevOps is and exactly why I'm talking about DevOps. So how to DevOps, so basically how to use DevOps, and then some key takeaways from that. So moving on to the first bit is what is DevOps. So basically organizations are having to evolve faster than ever. And the major importance of this is that there are a bunch of new things where you have new customers or where you have new people that want new information or they want new services. And how do you then, provide the services to them if you have to build out something new? So obviously automation then comes into place. So we have this in public sector, in financial services, with healthcare, with retail. It's just, the list is basically endless. So when we're talking about DevOps, we basically have competing forces. So we have the business, which obviously is the major focus point, but then we then have the development team who build out all this really interesting and cool applications. And the major focus of the development team is they want to build it faster, right? So it's like, okay, we have this, new tech that's come out, and this is really interesting to us. So this is really, something that we want to show to the customers or we want to build out. So we just want to build it faster and we don't want the business to slow us down. But then you have the operations team saying, that's great for you guys, but we need to keep it stable because anything goes wrong with the business, that's on us, right? You guys can build out what you want to build out, but if it's not stable, then we don't want you to do this. So then this kind of leads to DevOps, and DevOps is that bridge between the developer and the operations team. So typically you have like that, say, Chinese wall, right? Where the developers can't see across to the operations team and the other way around. But then with DevOps, you have CI/CD, which is basically continuous integration and continuous deployment. And that bridges the gap between development and the operations team. So if you think about it this way, you have, say, the developers who are continuously incrementing their code or making like fast changes, which is continuous integration, right? So you think about this at the source stage, about say like unit testing stage and things like that. But then you then have continuous deployment, which is you basically getting all that code and that iteration and automatically making deployments into say production. But then there's also monitoring in there. So basically the IT operations team can see what's going on. And then because the developers can say fail fast and they can build and test out all these iterations, it then makes it a lot easier for them to go through the process without having been stopped. But at the same time, the operations team can see what they're doing because there's a lot of monitoring, there's a lot of automatic alerts going on as well. So why do organizations adopt DevOps, and why is DevOps something that's really fast growing? Although it's been around a long time, when you think about it, it increases the quality, the speed, and the agility, which means faster time to value. So a lot quicker for you to get out the applications you want, a lot quicker for you to say support your customers, or a lot quicker for you to try out new things that are out there. And also it's safe when you're doing it because you're also monitoring at the same time and then know if something would work because you're testing it. And then you can say, okay, let's go back and make a new iteration of this. So moving on to how to DevOps. So in terms of DevOps practices, we have continuous integration and continuous delivery, which I spoke about. Sorry. Okay. I thought someone was talking, which I spoke about earlier on. And then you also have microservices as a practice. So just think about this as like, say, loosely coupled services or architecture. So say like as opposed to having like a monolith where like everything is in one place, so like your database layer, your application layer, you know, your front end, when everything is in one place, you have like your microservices, which is basically a service per application. So you can have like your database service, or say like your buying service or your purchase service, so different services and that fit into this. And then finally, we have infrastructure as code, which is basically where you have everything written in as code. So think of like your Terraform, your Ansible. So from AWS, that'll be like CloudFormation. So basically infrastructure management techniques, and then you're basically making your software written as code every step you get. So the whole point of this is to automate and make sure that you can reuse it. So say you were building out a database or it could even be an application that needs to be built out, say, several times. If you have this written as code, you can just basically redeploy this into different environments. So into your dev environment, into your test environment, and just say change variables. So it makes things a lot quicker and also automates the process as well. So this might be a bit, crazy to look at, but I just wanted to kind of talk through what the end-to-end model would look like. So I'm just going to go through this very briefly, just so that it's, it's just not too overwhelming or anything like that. But basically, you have your application developers who are, say, your DevOps engineers, infrastructure developers, systems engineers, who are basically building and testing out their code. So they basically would say push this code into some sort of Git repository. So there is GitHub, there is GitLab, or anything Git, or it could be code commits from AWS points. And then this kicks off a pipeline, which then builds this out. So depending on how they have this. And essentially, I wanted to show this just to kind of show some services that you could use, and then how you would deploy this into various different environments. So the whole point of this is that they can build this out, they can monitor this, they can test this, but then they can also deploy this into different environments at the same time, and then also make sure that the work is being checked as well. So I just want to talk about a few key takeaways from this and the whole point of DevOps. So from that last slide, the whole summary of that is basically with DevOps, the whole point is you want to make it flow, right? So if we look at this diagram, it goes from you having to code, to build, to test, and then you release this and then deploy this into, say, your production environment. But then you then have your operate and your monitor phase, which was what we spoke about earlier, and what I spoke about earlier in terms of monitoring how this works. So one thing I wanted to talk about is the ultimate way to have this done is Devsecops, which essentially you having security into your pipeline. So because we don't have a lot of time today, I don't want to go too much into that. But you want to get to a stage where you're not just, automating and deploying your applications into development, but then you're monitoring at the same time. You have security checks. So it will get to a stage in your organization, say if you're a startup or say it's a large company, you definitely would need to look at security, because that is job zero, right? Like security is the major thing, one of the major things involved. And you want to insert security into your pipeline in a way that doesn't obstruct operations or development. So we're basically trying to put this in a way that doesn't obstruct anything. And if you think about it this way, we're basically automating security. So you can do this with like preventative or detective methods. So an example would be, say, like using hash verifications, or if you're doing like dependency checks, or you're doing some sort of code analysis, so things like checkups, or using like Cloud Guru. So there are a bunch of things that you can use, but you just want to make sure that you're also automating as best as possible at every stage of your deployment when it comes to security as well. So DevOps equals efficiencies that speed up the life cycle, but when it comes to DevSecops, we're validating those building blocks. So exactly as what DevOps does, but then we're trying not to slow down the life cycle. So in this point, we're adding security, but not slowing down or hindering anyone's pace and effect. So this is what that would look like. So, we had a look at the plan, code, build, and test phase with DevOps, but with security, just think about this as the same thing, but then at different points, we're having check-ins where we're adding security. So when we're, say, writing our code, we have secure code reviews. When we're building, we're also having, we're doing like unit tests, during our testing phase. So during deployments, we're also making sure that every single point, we're verifying that our code works as it should. We're looking at things like compliance, we're monitoring and making sure that security is in there. So most times you use like a sync tool and things like that at different stages, or in this case at your select when you're monitoring things like that. So you need one of these tools, but then you're also doing things like, say, encryption at rest and in transit. But then this is basically you just making sure there's security throughout each phase of your pipeline. So you're having your regular CI/CD pipeline, but then at each phase of it, you're just adding in security. And finally, basically, why DevOps? So with this, we're basically breaking down cultural barriers. So we want to work as one team in an organization. When it gets a lot bigger, you have different sides of your team. So you have development, operations, security, the different parts of the team, but you want to make sure that no side of the team or no team is isolated from the other. Want to be able to support business and IT agility. So like I said, new things come up, there's 5G, the different things that, different organizations want to experiment with or say meet up with demand on. And if you're able to automate lots of things, it reduces your, say, deployment process from like years to months or even less. You can collaborate and communicate. So if we look at this top, this fosters culture. So this is the DevOps culture. And then at the bottom, we have things like treat infrastructure as code. So like I said, codify everything, automate, test, measure, and monitor. And in this case, that's the process. So you do this essentially with the DevOps tools. And you want to get to a stage where basically humans have less manual work to do throughout. And then this increases your productivity as well throughout your team. So say like only the pipeline should make changes to production in this case. And that's my talk. So thank you for listening to that.
Can we get a big virtual round of applause for Tommy, please? And an actual round of applause from me. That was amazing. We have a question for you in the chat.
Sure, I'm just trying to find my way back to the chat.
Yeah, Zoom is very confusing, so I'll give you a few seconds.
Great, stop sharing. Yep, I'm back.
So for DevOps, do you have to learn data science first? I'm currently new to tech, so I'm kind of finding it a bit confusing to start with.
So I can tell you what my background is, or what my background is, and I can tell you how I think the best way to get into DevOps is. So with me, my background at university, I studied electrical and electronics engineering, and I kind of focused on the software side of it. But if I'm being honest, the software side was, say, maybe like a couple coding languages, right? So say like maybe C++, C#, things like that. Was until I got into my first job that I actually started doing more like AWS, cloud. So AWS cloud, Google cloud, all of that. I said getting into cloud, right? A lot of the DevOps things I did, a lot of self-learning, a lot of learning on the job. But what I would say is if you're trying to get into DevOps, I would say you need certain basic skills. So certain, say like coding skills, certain, so pick a language. I always say this when it comes to like coding, you don't have to learn all the languages. Say you look at something and you're like, okay, this is good for me. I always suggest Python first, because I think it's one of the quickest ones to learn. So pick a language and like don't stress in terms of like you have to learn Python and then JavaScript and then C++. I would say pick a language, start with that, and kind of understand the DevOps practices. So in terms of automation, in terms of, say, maybe doing it on a cloud provider, so things like that, you would need to know things like monitoring and login. But pick a language and then say maybe you do like a certification, because certifications are quite good in terms of getting into DevOps, and you can start from there. But I don't think it's something that you must have a computer science or a data science background. I don't have one. I do have like a maybe partly software background, but I would say, again, if I didn't, it shouldn't change anything, right? So if you just again pick a language and then start off with that, you honestly can do anything with DevOps. Like you don't need to have to study at university or anything like that. I hope that answers your question.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
So let's imagine we're creating a project.
Yeah.
And we want to create an Alexa skill. So if anyone doesn't know, Alexa skill is like an app on the Alexa device. So I've got this idea for an Alexa skill. In terms of DevOps, where would I start with that?
Okay, so in terms of anything, not even just an Alexa skill with DevOps, you would think of how you can do this to make it reusable, right? So I think the first process would be, okay, how can I recreate this somewhere else, right? And then you then have to look at how you would start writing infrastructure as code, or how you would automate it. So you say you pick your favorite language, say you use CloudFormation, say you use Terraform, right? Depending on what you want to use, you then start writing it in a way that everything inside your code can be reused. So I could give you an example. Say you write an Alexa skill and maybe you want to change certain things in it, like say maybe add another skill to it, or maybe increase or change what Alexa's response is, or what you say to get the response, right? You can make that as a variable. So in your code, or in any code that you're writing, or any language that you pick, you just have to make sure that it's reusable. So if you are, say, writing in Python and you have like a for loop to say get X out of 30 numbers, you can make numbers N so that it asks you to input the numbers. And then the next time you do it, you can use 50, you can use 60, you can use 70 without having to rewrite the code, but just by inputting that new variable. So you want to think with DevOps is, I want to make sure that my code can be reused and I can rewrite this anytime I want. So I can, reuse this anytime I want to within any application. And that's the best part of it. So that's how I find it most useful, because it makes your work a lot easier, right? It's automated. Everything's been done for you because you've done it, to be fair.
Thank you. I might actually get on to making my skill tonight. Who knows? Or to continue playing my games. Thank you so much, Tommy. Really appreciate it. How can anyone get in touch with you if they have any questions?
So if you have any questions, you can reach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or on Instagram, and everything is at Tomi Popola. Well, my LinkedIn is just Tomi Popola, but my Instagram and my Twitter is at Tomi Popola. So my first name and last name. I'll just put it in the chat.
Thank you so much. For anyone who didn't know, Coding Black Females, we're not just in the UK. We are actually everywhere. We're on several continents on this beautiful planet. And I'm telling you this because our next speaker, she's not in the UK. She's coming from, is it Kenya? Constantly, you're in Kenya, right? Oh, I think you mean, is it Kenya you're in?
Yes, it's Kenya.
Yes, Kenya. So we've got a lovely Kenyan lady speaking next. Constantly, you have got 10 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
It's over to you.
Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So my name is Consulate Koyo. Who is Consulate Koyo? I'm a student at Akira Chicks in Nairobi, Kenya, and I am new in the industry. I'm set to graduate towards the end of this year in November. So on this talk, I'll talk about how I got started in tech and, like the experiences I've had in tech and some of the challenges I've faced as well. So unlike other people, I actually didn't have a yearning to join the tech industry since I was a kid. I mean, I wanted to do other things like law. I wanted, at some point, I remember I wanted to do some bit of media, but so I went to middle school, then I went to my high school. Then after my high school, in Kenya, after your high school, you get a chance to choose the career you'd want to pursue, and tech wasn't one of them. I actually chose international relations and diplomacy, and um, to just back my international relations and diplomacy, I decided to go and get to learn the French language. So I went ahead and did French for some time. And aside from that, I'm also a writer. I actually do a lot of writing. So during that period, there's a period when I wanted to get a website done so that I can actually be able to like post my blogs and all that. So the person who was to do my website disappointed me after I had paid him. And I was thinking, I mean, as well, I can as well just learn how to do a website and how to do all this and how to code. Like it's possible, right? So I decided to apply for a program. It's a bootcamp program. Accurate checks my school right now. So I applied and I got in. And during my first time, like I was still new. I was still adjusting to the system. You know, like is tech really? Some of the questions that I was asking myself, is tech really what I'd want to venture in? But over time, I have actually grown to love tech. I have grown to, I can't, as of now, I can't see myself anywhere aside from in the tech, aside from the tech space, which is interesting. And one of the things that I've actually gotten to learn and know in the tech space is lifelong learning, because the tech space is a bit huge, and with time, like there's a lot of revolution. There's a lot of revolution, and you don't have one constant thing in the tech space for a long time. And with time, it's actually very important as a techie to adjust to the system, right? When new languages come about, it's actually very important to get to learn them so as to maintain your relevance in the industry. And some of the things I have learned is one of them is confidence. I wasn't this confident when I started my journey, but given that it's actually very important to get to put your best foot forward and get to learn your game. And confidence has actually been very key, and it has helped me navigate the space. Something else that I've actually learned over time is empathy, right? Tech is just not about coding, it's just not about building things. I believe tech is about solving problems that are there in the space, in the world, in society. And when I was just getting started in my journey, and before I actually got to embrace tech, I actually got to understand that, I'm just not just coding, I am helping solve real world problems that are affecting individuals in various parts of the world. And I think that is actually one of the main reasons as why I decided to venture into this, to stick to my venture in the industry. And given that we actually have users that actually use our products and use the services we have, it's very important to just put yourself in their shoes to get to come up with products that just don't make sense, but that change their lives and that add value to them. And something else that tech has taught me is self-learning. Yes, as I had mentioned earlier, just staying relevant in the industry. And collaboration. GitHub, like using tools like GitHub to host and deploy our projects. It's actually very important. And not only GitHub, but even collaboration with other individuals. And this has come a long way. And given that I have been growing in tech, I think some of the if I could share some of the important points to note, is that it's very important that one has a portfolio, right? Aside from your CV and resume, it's very important to actually, when you want to go for, jobs, when you want to apply for other things, and when you want to tell people who you are as a TK, it's actually important that you have a portfolio of the projects you have been working on, of the things that you have been doing. And I've also come to notice that mentorship is very important. Mentorship is very important. There are people who have gone ahead of us, and the people who are thriving in the industry. And it wasn't hard to just ask for direction, like what are the do's and don'ts, how did you navigate your path, how did you find yourself, how did you get to learn your journey, to avoid loopholes in the industry. I think it's actually very important. And once you actually get someone to lead you and to show you the do's and don'ts, this is the right path to go, this is what I have seen in the industry, if at all you will just add one or two things in your CV, or add one or two skills in your journey or in your tech expertise. I think it's actually very important. And something else that I have grown to learn is that networking is very, very important. And it's actually amazing that I actually came to know of the Coding Black Females, because it's a whole community of TKs and aspiring TKs from different parts of the world. I think that's amazing. Amazing. It's actually an amazing work that you're doing. And I think networking is actually very important, because you get to learn and learn from other people who are doing different things. And yeah, it's actually amazing. And I have also seen the panel has different people, DevOps, engineer, and other people in the tech industry. And just to touch on something else I'd want to share is about, I'm looking forward to venturing into product management. And as I just want to share what a product manager is, the relevance of a product manager in the industry, and some of the things that a product manager does. So a product manager is an individual who is in charge of the life cycle of a product, right? From the life cycle of a product, from the when the product is actually starting to get into the market to the launch of the product. Yes, from the research, then the ideation, and to the testing and implementation of the product. And a product manager also, we have like a technical product manager and a program product and a product manager. And a technical, someone can ask, like, is it very necessary for one to be in the tech piece, for one to become a product manager? And my answer would be not really. You actually don't have to be part of the, you don't have to know how to code to be a product manager, but coding comes in handy as a product manager. And for the technical product manager mostly deals with the implementation, the design, the implementation bit of the product, while the product manager deals with the business side of the product. And I think it's actually amazing on how the various opportunities that tech has, from the Scrum Master to the DevOps engineer to web developers. Tech is so huge, and it's actually something that I came to find out later, even as I got to learn. And one of the questions that someone can ask is like, where can I start? Where can you start? I think it's actually important to, given that techies are problem solvers, it's actually very important and essential to identify a niche that you have within your society, within your space, something that you're seeing, what is not right. And once you identify it, you can also just go an extent of identifying how you can fix that using tech, right? And given that I had also mentioned that tech is actually very huge, it's actually good to identify your passion, like what would you want to do? Because, like there's DevOps, there's cloud engineers, they're like linguistics. What is your passion? Then after you have found your passion in the tech field, it's actually very important to set time and practice. Like, would you want to become product manager, then find out what a product manager does. Like, what does he do? What does the work of a product manager entail? And if at all you do want to become probably a developer, what language would you want to venture into? Like, would you want to learn Java? Would you want to learn C++? Would you want to learn JavaScript or Python? And it's also important that you actually get to understand that there will be hitches along the way. It's actually just not, a very smooth journey. Some of the challenges I have, some days you just wake up and code is not running and you have to debug it. And even as you come to terms with the different challenges that you actually face, I think it's actually important that you actually learn to come to knowledge that the challenges make you a better person. Like, the different challenges make you, evolve differently. You get to understand and you get to learn, what never worked right the other time. Okay, so this time round, I'll try do this better. And yes, it has been an amazing journey. And I would like to end with, it's tech is for anyone. Like, tech you don't have to be a nerd to be a techie. You don't have to be, a particular, set of attributes to be a techie. Anyone can be a techie, so long as, if at all you have the passion to solve a problem in your space, you can be a techie. Thank you.
Can we get a big, massive virtual round of applause, please? That was amazing. So you mentioned that you want to get into project management.
Yes.
How are you what's your plan to get into that part of tech?
So currently my mentor is a product manager, and I have been reading a lot about it, like what a product manager, like how is the, daily life of a product manager? What does their work entail? Like, is it just about specs? What exactly it entails? And even as I had mentioned earlier, I'm still in school, but I'm looking forward to finishing school. I'm set to graduate in November. So I'm looking forward to getting an internship as a product manager. But currently I'm doing a lot of reading and consulting people who have been in the space.
Interesting. If you need help with that, we do have project managers and product managers in Coding Black Females. We have a variety of different roles. So let us know, because we have people who might be able to offer more advice or help you on that journey.
Thank you. I'll appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing your story. Very appreciated. And we would love to hear like any updates after graduation where you are in a few months' time.
Thank you. I will share.
Nadine. Are you
Yes,
here?
I'm
Are you
here.
ready?
Yes.
Are you sure? I'm kidding. You're going to be amazing.
Thank you. Let me try and share
Oh,
my
so
screen.
while you're doing that, constantly, I forgot to ask you, where can people get in touch with you if they have any questions?
On Instagram, my name is Koyo_Conslate. They can also get in touch with me through my mail. My mail is conslatekoyo@gmail.com, but I can share my LinkedIn on the chat box.
Please do. Nadine,
Yes,
can you share your screen? Cool.
sure. I'm trying. I'm trying to share it now. Oh, please pardon me for a minute.
While Nadine is sorting that out. I would love to know where everyone is from, actually. I can't assume that everyone's from the same part of the world that I'm in right now. So we've got Kenya, or Nairobi to be specific. Where else is everyone from?
I'm from London
Nigeria.
and currently New York.
We've got a Londoner in New York. We've got Nigeria. We've got London. I tell you what, Nadine, I'll give you some more time to get that sorted. Oh, unless you are ready. Nadine, you're muted. Oh. Nadine, if you need a few more minutes, I can ask the next speaker to go ahead. Let's get the next speaker up instead. Hi, Pineapple.
Hello.
Hello. Or Chisha, it's your government name.
Yeah. Right.
Are you ready?
Well, ready as I'll ever be. Let's.
Can we start? This is your first ever talk,
Yes.
right?
So this is my first ever talk. So super duper nervous, like thirsties do. So I shall share screen and just explain about my journey and how I got into tech, really. And that's
You're
it.
gonna be amazing. Like I said, you are our chief energy officer, so I know you're gonna be great.
Right, so let's share. So basically, I'm starting it off with, if I can, then you can. So I am a career changer. I used to work as a legal personal assistant and a legal executive assistant in the legal industry and was doing my thing, working there. But I kind of had a passion for websites. And within my role, I managed to do a little bit of updating on the internal intranet. But then, comments were like, stay in your lane. You don't want to do that. You don't want to change. So I kind of did just that, stayed in my lane, stayed in tech. Stayed in the legal industry. And then the pandemic hit and shock, horror, everything fell apart. Most people's jobs were turned upside down, didn't know what was happening. By this time, I was now in a contract role in another law firm. And so I got made redundant. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to pay the bills? And then a friend sent me a link for free code camp. So when I got sent this link, I was like, what's this? She was like, oh, you might like it. Remember when you said you were doing that intranet stuff in your law firm? And I was like, yeah. So she sent me this link. And then I got hooked. I became an addict, serious addict. Late nights, working till late, started to teach myself HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Started to network online because everybody was in a lockdown, so we could only stay indoors. And so I was using my time to do just that, teaching myself how to code. And then I managed to get myself onto a free boot camp. Now I'd researched, there was lots of boot camps that were around. They were all £7,000, £8,000, not for me. So I managed to get onto the free boot camp. And I was quite proud of myself. I'd transitioned from legal to start teaching myself how to code. But obviously I had to also do homeschooling and all the other duties and chores. So there was lots of times on this roller coaster ride of me teaching myself how to code and being on boot camp. I had to also homeschool for 3 different children, which was a lot. So as you can imagine, I was tearing my hair out on some days. there was times when I felt like I didn't know it as much as the others. So that little imposter syndrome started to creep up because I was comparing myself to others, which I shouldn't have. But it made me think that my brain was like a brick and others were like a sponge. And so they were absorbing the information much faster than me. I later found out that that wasn't the case. Everyone has different journeys. And then I managed to get myself a new junior software developer role. So I thought, oh yeah, great. I've just finished my boot camp. And as soon as I finished, the next Monday, I started this new job. I was proud of myself. Everyone was proud of me, my family, children. And then I realized it wasn't the right fit. The imposter syndrome grew bigger and bigger. I was supposed to be implementing the stuff that I'd learned at the boot camp. That wasn't the case. There was times when I wanted to pair and they didn't have the resources for that. It basically wasn't the right fit at all for me. So I wanted to leave, but I was nervous about trying to leave because I felt that I hadn't yet practiced enough of the skills in order for me to be confident in another job. So it was a bit of a catch-22. But I did take the leap and find a new job, which is much more resourceful. It's got lots more resources. It's much more rewarding. It's much more fulfilling. I do a lot of pairing. They're more inclusive. They're more, they value my opinion. They value what I say. They're encouraging. And I'm much, much happier there, much more money than I got. And yeah, it's still a learning process. It's still, everything's still new. Like I said, I worked in legal for a long time and I've only just come into the tech space. So I think the whole transition's taken me about just under 2 years. I was only at my last job for about 8 months and then I left, and I'm now at a new global firm working as a quality software engineer. And so I'm having to learn Golang and Gherkin to test, but it's really fun. And because they're so supportive, that's why I guess I'm enjoying it much more than the last place. And so with that, I end with, if I can, with all the things that were going on, and me feeling that my brain was like a brick and others were like a sponge, and comparing myself, little imposter syndrome, and all the other stuff that was going on, a roller coaster of emotions, then you most certainly, definitely, 100% can. And that's my story.
Can we please get a big, massive, actually, no, Regina, unmute yourself. Clap, clap, clap. Let's all hear it.
Yay!
Clap, clap, clap.
I couldn't unmute myself in time, then I'm done.
Before we get into questions, how do you feel with your first ever talk of this type?
Yeah, it was really nice. I mean, whilst I was learning how to code and networking online during the pandemic, I managed to obviously found the wonderful Coding Black Females Network. And to be honest, I was in another boot camp and it was a wonderful boot camp and they were lovely. But since coming here, it's been a lot more supportive because I am surrounded by people that look like me. And to be fair, when I was researching, trying to find out about moving into the tech when I was in legal, I didn't see anyone that looked like me. So that's why I was like, stay in your lane. Okay, yeah, I will. But no, I would say to anybody, like I said, if I can do it, then you definitely can do it. And that's what I would just like to end with.
I tell people that all the time, like, you're in tech, because I'm a career changer as well, and people don't believe me when I say that. And all my other friends are like, what do you mean you're in tech? You? And I'm like, yeah, me.
Yeah, so
yeah, me.
Do it.
I'm like, yeah, if I can do it, you sure can do it. You've probably got a better attention span than me, because mine is trash. Oh, we have got a question. Would you say there is anything that career changers should look for when applying for jobs?
Make sure 100% that the company is supportive. And I mean supportive of your development needs, supportive of your technical needs, supportive of your, if you might have children, personal needs. They need to be 100% supportive in your decisions, supportive in when you are contributing ideas, supportive when you make suggestions, supportive in your career path, just 100% supportive. If they're not supportive, see ya.
I'm going to give my 2 cents on that as well. But there's a massive benefit of being a career changer in that you have worked in different environments, so you know what suits you better. You know what kind of industry that you favor as well. Like the finance industry, not for me. I know that because of previous work experience. So now I know that tech's everywhere, right? I can go work in any industry that I want. But I know that finance is not for me, so I don't go work there. I know what kind of environment I like to be in, what kind of environment brings out the best in me, what kind of environment makes me internalize everything. So I know what to avoid and what to look for. There are big benefits of being career changers, that you know who you are, you know what you like.
Exactly. And also you've come from an industry before and you've worked and you've got, I guess, some of those soft skills. You've already got that. So you're transitioning over, bringing over some of those experiences that you had before to a new industry.
Yeah, them soft skills have got me out of many, many problems. It's been surprising how many times I've leaned back on them soft skills that I've learned in my previous life and put it through to this new life that I'm in. Thank you so much, Pineapple. And where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn and I will share my details in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Nadine, are you still with us?
Yeah, sure, I'm with you.
Should we have another go?
Yes, I was trying to share my screen.
We could see your presentation at one point.
Can you see me now? Can you hear?
We can see it.
Okay, so thank you so much. In this talk, I'll be sharing, first of all, I'm Nadine Sangwa. I'm from Rwanda and currently I'm in Kenya, Nairobi. In tech, pursuing software engineering at Akira Chicks. I'll be talking about my journey in tech, how I got into tech, different things that have been happening, my experiences, and yeah, more on my journey. First of all, I'll be talking about self-doubt. How I got into tech actually started. I started my journey recently in January this year. When I finished my high school in 2017, I didn't really know I was going to be in tech. I've been going around different careers, joining university, coming out, being a hospitalian, going out, joining other careers, and finally, I'm in tech. So one of the things that have really scared me, or I can say was one of the things that have been stopping me from joining tech is that I was having self-doubt. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe that what people say tech is, I can really be a part of it. I can remember when we got a chance to choose between the careers to follow. I had one of my aunties, she was in hospitality. So I said, since she joined hospitality and she was able to be taking care of her kids doing different things, me too, I can join. I didn't really have a choice for myself. I say, no, let me follow what she did. I can be like her. The way we used to have role models and you say, I can follow this person. What I learned from following people without thinking actually what can really work for you is that when you follow a person without thinking about it, without saying this is what I want, this is what can work for me, you'll definitely fail or maybe give up. And that's what happened to me. I joined my university 1 year after I graduated from high school, and I did the whole year. It was a year of confusion. I was just there, going to school, coming back from school, seeing other people doing what I'm doing, and some of them didn't even go to school. Then I said, am I really doing what I like or what I want to do? I was not seeing any, I was comfortable with what I was doing because it was really easy for me. And I felt like, yes, this is what we call university, and I'm waiting to graduate. So I was doing it for the sake of doing it. I didn't see any change in my life. I was not feeling anything because it was not really a career I wanted to follow. I followed it because of my auntie. And I was expecting to get what she was getting. I didn't have a plan for my life. That's what I can say. Later, I dropped out of that school. And after spending some time outside in the outside world, no, nothing. I didn't go to school. I don't know what's next. I was just there. I decided to enroll again in another university, and I was doing the same course that I did the previous time, just for the sake of doing it. What's funny is that I later dropped out again. After dropping out, that's when I spent almost the whole year. That have been happening in the 2 years after my high school. Then in the third year, that's when I dropped out of the second university. That's when I started thinking about myself. Luckily, I saw a link on my phone, just the way you'll be having your phone and you see an ad. I saw an ad and I decided to apply for that program because I was just outside, not doing anything. It was an Akira Chicks Code Hive program here in Kenya. I was in Rwanda that time. I said, let me just apply. What is coding? Let me just apply since it's a program that is taking girls and I'm a girl. I'm just there doing nothing. Then that's how I got into tech. Luckily, I was accepted. I came to school. My first day was a day of confusion. I didn't know what is tech. I didn't know where I'm going. I didn't know my purpose. I didn't have anything to follow. I was just there. When I joined tech, actually, I came to understand that it's not about tech. It's about, do you really like it? Do you really want to do anything with what we're learning? They started by teaching us the soft skills, being open-minded, how to approach problems, how being in tech can help you solve real-world problems. And me that didn't have any purpose, me that didn't have anywhere to go, that didn't have anywhere to belong, I was just there. I said, let this be a chance for me maybe to explore, to learn. The first day I tried to I ran my first code. I was very happy. I said, so I can do this. Somebody that have been in hospitality, somebody that have been going in different universities for nothing, like with no plan, with no future, I didn't have any direction, but I found my passion in tech. I would say I found my passion in tech because that's where I learned who I can be. That's where I understood who I can really see a person I can be, and I have it in my hands. I would also say that tech made me explore the person that was hiding before me, because every day I would say I was forced in the first place because I didn't know what I want and I didn't really like what I was doing. But later I came to understand that having an open mindset, willing to learn and face your fears can really help you, as it really helped me so far in my journey. And for people that are transitioning from different careers to tech, as I was in a different career, I would like to tell you that having an open mindset is a key. And be willing to learn new things, to hear and consider different ideas and opinions can really help. And I think putting differences aside, like this is what I want to follow because I have seen somebody following it. I think it can't help. As tech have really triggered my self-development, I hope it can help different people. And I would like to encourage everyone to face their fears as I faced mine. And I hope that can help us in growing in different careers, not only in tech. So thank you. That was my presentation.
Can we please get a huge virtual round of applause for Nadine? And Nadine, can you put your slide back up a sec so everyone can see your contact details or get a chance to take a screenshot of it?
Oh,
Or just put it in the chat. Just put your contact details in the chat if that's easier.
okay, I'll share them now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That is the end of our talks this evening. Massive round of applause for everyone. You were all incredible. You were all amazing and you were all brave. Speaking in front of an audience is not easy and you were all incredible, inspiring and flawless. And I'm proud of every single one of you. Just a quick reminder that this month it is CBF Fest. So if you enjoyed these talks, imagine 2 days worth of talks like this, 2 days worth of workshops, panels, networking. I might even do a workshop. I don't know what on yet. If you have any opinions on what random bit of tech I should do a workshop on, please let me know. Tickets are still available. Please go ahead and take a look at the Fest website for more information. That's fest.codingblackfemales.com. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, please sign up. We have a bunch of events coming up. We have a bunch of courses coming up. We have a lot of opportunities coming up for the rest of the year. So now you're part of the CBF community. Just get involved. And that is the end of tonight's talks. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for speaking. Much appreciated. And if no one has any other questions or comments or anything, actually, does anyone want to do any networking here? Now we're all here. Does anyone want to do like a really quick round of speed networking? Or is everyone like, I'm hungry? Let me go.
I mean, I've been munching on pizza during the talks, so
What pizza?
I'm not hungry.
What pizza?
My housemate and I ordered Domino's with Texas barbecue and pepperoni.
Oh, that sounds nice. Okay,
and it came like proper warm as well. So fresh
that
out
sounds
of the
good.
oven pizza.
That sounds good. Listen, if anyone does, I want to stop streaming.